Hi everybody, this is Sean from the Academic Support Center, and I'm going to chat with you briefly about how to annotate a journal article or a scholarly article. These things I'm going to chat with you about, they've worked for me after doing a lot of experimenting and talking with a lot of people and getting a lot of advice over the years. And I look forward to sharing this with you. So what is annotation and why is it so important? Why does it help so much? Quite simply, annotation is literally just taking notes on the texts that we read and that we use for our various assignments. And the real benefit with annotation is that it helps familiarize ourselves with a text without the pressure of having to write anything or having to answer any question. It's literally just the opportunity to gain more from what we're reading and think about what it is we've actually read. Also, annotation helps us take a closer look at some of the most striking parts of a text, so that it's no longer just something we read, but it has various key facts, or it has things that really surprise us, or it has things that don't make sense to us, or it has something really interesting. And we take the time to search for and find these things. So I said at the beginning that this was going to be a talk about annotating a scholarly article or journal article. We talked briefly about what annotation is, but what is a scholarly article or a journal article? What do we mean when we say that? What it is this. So researchers, usually at a university or college, they publish the research that they've done and the experiments that they've done and the conclusions that they found in a paper. And it is peer-reviewed. That is to say that their fellow professors, colleagues, fellow researchers, etc., they will actually read and vet their research and see if they agree with it and see if it qualifies as solid research. And then if their colleagues and fellow researchers say, yeah, it doesn't look like there were any major mistakes here, let's publish this, then it gets published in one of these publications or journals, and it becomes a scholarly article or journal article. When it comes to finding a scholarly article, first of all, don't hesitate to reach out to the library, since they're there for you, and they're the experts on research who can help you. Secondly, on the RVCC library website, you can access the RV1 search database and type in keywords related to your topic. Just make sure you put your keywords in quotes and check the peer-reviewed and full text boxes. By the way, you're going to want to be as specific as possible with these keywords. You might have to adjust them and try a few different kinds of keywords to see what you get. And then you'll get your results and you will scan through the titles and search for the articles that you think will work best for you. Now, if you're feeling anxious and worried that you have to read all of these articles just to find what's a good article, don't worry, because you don't have to do that. That's what the abstract is for. So you just want to take a look at the abstract. And what is the abstract? The abstract is this little mini summary of everything that is in the research. And it's not very long, as you see in this example. It's just a couple of sentences. So the great thing about these abstracts, you can read these few sentences and you're usually going to be able to tell right away whether this has much to do with what you're researching or not. We were talking about annotation, right? This part of the process is going to include an abstract, by the way. What are we looking for as we read and annotate? You want to keep in mind your professor's questions or directions provided on the prompt or assignment description, and underline or highlight what you think helps address your professor's questions or directions. There is more that you can do and should do beyond just underlining and highlighting and paying attention to the question. There are specific things that we can look for and focus on, and we can both underline and highlight them, and we can also jot down words and sentences. And one thing we want to look for, what is the text that we're reading actually about? So as we're annotating, what is the topic, and what is it saying about that topic? Or we call that the theme of the text. And again, it's important and helpful to jot down words and sentences in the margin. You will find, I believe, that this will help you, especially with the paraphrasing experience and your ability to put what you just read in your own words and find a deeper understanding of it. Other considerations. What are the key questions that a text raises, as well as possible answers to those questions? Additionally, what questions do you have about what you're reading, and what thoughts do you have about those questions? You should jot those down as well. Here's a little picture of what annotation could look like for you. It doesn't have to look exactly this way, but you'll see, so there's different colored pens used here, and there are some little like mini paraphrasing chunks here. Long-term consequences, definition of domestic abuse, so we're naming or summarizing or paraphrasing things that we've read and jotting it down that way. The idea is to sort of go bit by bit and be able to summarize or paraphrase what you've seen that is striking or important. And again, the use of different colors, that's one really helpful way to draw attention to different aspects of the text. But what's important is for you to do it in a way that works for you. It doesn't have to be different colored pens or highlighters. And I want to emphasize, there are different ways to annotate. So you're going to want to do a little bit of experimentation here and see what works for you. And this is one reason why we wanted to show you different examples of how different people annotate. And you take a look here. This was, you may recognize that abstract above, but as we look at the actual article, again, you can see that there are different colored highlighted things, words and phrases, and then you can see that there's some paraphrasing done here, as well as extracting and reiterating through the marginal notes facts that really stand out and seem important. There are so many different ways to annotate that you don't even have to do it, we might call it the old-fashioned way, perhaps, with your pen and highlighters. You can copy and paste key quotes, those passages that you might want to actually use as support for backing up a claim that you have in your essay. So one thing that you can do is open up a Word document, or if you want to use Google Docs or whichever works best for you, and organize by making sure that you keep track of the actual source that you're using, get the bibliographic information that you will ultimately be putting on your citations page or reference page. And whether you want to, you could both annotate by typing a paraphrase, and you can also, again, include these key quotes that will be these direct quotes that you might want to use in your essay. And the great thing also about online or Microsoft Word digital annotation is that you do have these options for things like, highlighting or making things bold. So you can still have that annotation experience, whether you want to do it more of the old-fashioned pen and highlighter way or digitally. Here's some key words and phrases to keep a lookout for, especially shoulds or should nots. Words that suggest what should be considered true or right or good or vice versa. Also, anything the author repeats a lot is usually very, very important to note. Another thing to be on the lookout for. What does the author want to prove? And how does the author go about trying to prove it? You can underline, paraphrase there, and also note if anything is confusing. I also recommend looking up words in the dictionary when you don't know what they mean or when you're unsure what they mean. I also encourage checking out multiple dictionary definitions. Additionally, it may help a lot to do some background research on the author of a text as well as what the text is about. So now you know more about annotation, which is a really valuable tool for reading all types of texts and which will improve your comprehension, which is especially helpful when it comes to reading college texts. And with that, I wish you happy annotation.